Hello and welcome to another episode of the Screaming Eagle Father-Son podcast. Nick Kloss alongside my father, Eric Kloss, and sadly, the Washington Capitals season has come to an end. Philly winning their game against Carolina in a shootout. Of course, they couldn't get a regulation win, but they get it and they go to the playoffs. And the Caps ended their season on a high note, playing very well and then beating Columbus in what Alex Ovechkin has said now he hopes isn't his last game. He also said I think today, if today was wrap up day, or yesterday, he said that he hopes it's not his last game. So it sounds like he's leaning one way more than the other at the moment. But we'll talk kind of a recap as a whole and then play a game called Overreaction or Reality, some different scenarios with Ovi potentially being done. We just want to reflect and we're going to do a blind rankings of Ovi's moments and some of the best moments he's had. And then we'll talk a little bit about what we think the Caps might do this summer, but we'll get probably more into detail on that later on in the year. So, first off, Dad, how's it going? Obviously, not the best end to the season, but yeah, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think we were all tuning in on Monday to the Carolina game, and we were hoping that at the minimum they'd only get 1 point. At least that
Well,
would
did
keep us
it? I
in.
think if they, yeah, okay, 1 point would have kept us alive. Yeah.
Yeah, so if they got 1 point and then lost the next night, we still would have had a shot, right? Um, Once they secured the two, they clinched it. I think I was just kind of checking the standings. We ended up. I think Philly won their last game. So we ended 3 points short of the playoff spot. And but at the same time, and I think I mentioned this to you, is if you look at the schedule last 10, which is on ESPN, our last 10 games, we were 8-2. Now, unfortunately, the best team behind that was at 7-3 was the Flyers,
Hmm.
right? So, but we were 8-2. Whereas if you look at the Red Wings or the Blue Jackets, who were both in contention, and even the Islanders, their records were all below 500, and frankly, 2-7, 3-7, that kind of thing. So, I mean, those guys were fading. We were on the upswing, And when you look at these 7 games in April, we lost two and we won five. The two we lost were the Devils 7-3 and the Rangers 8-1. So, it's unfortunate because I think that we didn't show up those 2 nights. And unfortunately, that can hurt you. And it did this year. We weren't
Yeah.
consistent enough. I think I was listening to the broadcast for the last game, and they were mentioning that like we didn't get into ties. We didn't get extra points. We just lost or we won, right? I mean, and so it would have been good if we had been more competitive in some games, and been able to carry a point on, and maybe would have been in a situation. But having said that, again, in some ways, you didn't make it. It's water on the bridge. I was reading, of the 3 years with Carberry, it's the first year he hasn't made the playoffs, right? And again, we've talked
And
about it before.
he squeaked in that first year, and then this
Right.
year it was pretty much the same,
Similar.
caliber of team. And it actually almost came down to the same exact thing, Philly or us last, game of the year almost. So very
Right.
similar seasons, because honestly, flip a coin and we're not in the playoffs 2 years ago.
Mhm. Yeah, yep, yep. No, you're right. You're right. And I think in retrospect, people are probably going to chalk it up to we didn't have Dubois, for 60 games, 50 games, whatever it was, right? So, again, unfortunate ending. Again, I think it's unfortunate in some ways because of, we don't know what Ovi's going to do. I have to say, when I was listening to post game, I mean, they focused on all the right things. I mean, you look at our youth movement, and I know you did a post on the players under 25. I mean, there just was a lot of talk and excitement, and I think that made the push all the more exciting, right? I mean, we had a feeling. I think Carberry, when we came out of the Olympic break, said we needed to get 16 wins. We ended up with 14, I think. So we were too short, right? Which is, exactly the amount of points we would have needed to go above the Flyers. But I think that, if you look at those post Olympic games in total, the one takeaway you're going to have is, Ilya coming up, Leonard just really lighting it up. I think they said something around 14 goals. um, I can't remember, but there's a point in time where they matched that, and I think it was in the last 25 games or something like that. So he just developed a lot of confidence in the second half of the
Yeah.
season, and so I think there just was a huge feeling about let's focus not on that we didn't make the playoffs. Let's focus on what the ascendant part of this team is, and that was the youth movement and the young folks. So that was my takeaways. Disappointing in some ways, but quite frankly, you and I've been tracking this team for quite a while, and we knew about these young guys coming up, and so it's somewhat
Yeah.
exciting to see them having good season. And Sordif was a surprise, right? We really didn't know much about him. We knew that he was coming over from Florida and he hadn't really gotten a chance there. But he did well. Obviously, we talked about Leonard.
Yeah.
Um, the team at large really did well, and obviously Cole Hudson. We don't need to kind of belabor the point, but in 14 games, his sample size, 10 assists in 14 games is for a rookie is amazing. So
Well,
just a lot of
his
good things.
brother had, I think, over 60 in his rookie year. I'm gonna double check that. So they both have unbelievable vision, and you're kind of seeing he broke all of his brother's records at BU. So you're kind of seeing, all right, he jumped in the NHL and played really well and could potentially um, go on and kind of be that caliber of player. And we'll probably talk a little bit more about that. But like you said, kind of want to stay off the rookies a little bit today because we've talked so much
Talked
about,
about it.
the
Yep.
young
Yep.
talent, and everyone
Right.
kind of knows that. And I agree with you that I think, I've seen a little bit of people, you don't make the playoff season's a failure. But the truth is I saw something where we're the only playoff team with an above average in the NHL, so above, 16th, above average offense and an above average defense. Every
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
team in that top quadrant is in the
Is in the
playoffs.
playoffs. Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
just so you look at it and you can't say to me that they were a bad hockey team. They weren't.
Right.
And they did that with Pierre-Luc Dubois being out a big chunk of time. And you cannot tell me that didn't hurt them a lot. There were a lot of people saying, oh, he wasn't that different. Well, look how good we were once he came back. Like the evidence is there. And then you look at they did it without John Carlson, bringing up young guys. Obviously, yes, there's frustration because you didn't get Ilya up earlier. The truth on Cole Hudson is he couldn't come up until he did. He came
Right.
up as soon as he literally could have. We couldn't have gotten him any
Mhm.
earlier. Ilya was kind of the fumble there of not getting it together. But when you look at just we ended with 37 regulation wins. That's more
Right.
than the
Mhm.
Bruins, the Canadians, the Flyers, and the Penguins.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like and don't even get me started on the Western Conference, but
Mhm.
you look how good they were. They really were a
Right.
good hockey team. And then you look
Right.
at the young players, Ryan Leonard just shooting up at the end of the year to get to 20 goals, a 20 goal rookie year. That's
Mhm.
fantastic. So
Mhm.
all the young players, Chikrin leading the NHL in goals by a defenseman. Logan
Right.
Thompson being probably a Vezina winner if this
Mhm.
team is a better team in front of him and can score more
Right.
and put more in the back of the net. So this season is not a failure. It was
Right.
tough and it was not what we wanted, but it was not a failure. This hockey team is much better than people think just because they didn't make the playoffs. The truth is they had 37 regulation wins of their 43. And when you really look at it, It came down to shootouts. The Flyers won a bunch of
Hmm.
shootouts.
Yeah,
We
right,
couldn't.
right,
So you
right.
look at that, we win one or two shootouts,
Yeah,
you're in the playoffs. So like
yeah.
those little things just hurt you, and with the way the point system works, that's just the reality of it. So I just want to say that you're plus 19 in goal differential. You ended 8-2 and 0 with kind of the new young look team that you're hoping to see mostly next year. A lot of those pieces
Hmm.
coming back. And you got 37 regulation wins, which is good enough for I think fifth or sixth in the conference.
Hmm.
So it's bittersweet because, yeah, you might be upset right now that we didn't make the playoffs. The truth is, if we made the playoffs, we're probably a first or second round exit, unless Logan Thompson just carries us, which could have been a thing. But how you have to be so excited for next year. And we talk about that all the time. And that sucks to say because it means this year's over and we didn't make the playoffs. But you cannot tell me that this team isn't right there about to be one player away from being a contender. I think even if they don't add too much, maybe a player or two, I think they're a playoff team. I think you only see Cole Hudson get better. You only see Ilya get better. Ryan
Hmm.
has already proved he's just getting better and better with ice time. Sordiff looks really, really good. Like to contend, we need a big splash, 100%.
Yeah.
But to make the playoffs, this team is playoff good. The cards
So just
didn't fall in their
yeah,
way.
just
And
to
then also, 1 second, you go back to the
mhm.
New Jersey, New York games, and those are just two of the biggest fumbles you could have had. So
Right,
that's kind of where it really fell apart. And then the shootouts, but this season was not a failure. If anything, it just gave us a fantastic glimpse to the future and maybe left some fuel in the tank for Ovi because he wants to end on a playoff run.
right. And the only thing I would say is when it comes to the playoffs, because I do think there was a little bit of disappointment, certainly in the room. And the reason is, and I saw this in some of the social media from
Well,
Pittsburgh
you should
fans.
be disappointed. You should be.
Yeah, yeah, no, they should have been. But I saw this from the Pittsburgh fans, right? Because Pittsburgh fans were saying, oh crap, we're going to get the Caps in the first round. They were worried about us,
Well, because
right?
Philly isn't good. Like I
Right,
don't predict, and I could be wrong. It's the Stanley Cup playoffs, it happened. Philly has 27 regulation wins. They made a lot of their wins in overtime 3-on-3 and
right,
shootouts. We had 37 regulation wins, and we're one of the best 5-on-5 teams in hockey.
right. Well, and it's
That's a
what's
much
the
better
goal?
recipe for the playoffs.
Right, and look at the goal differential, right? I mean, the Flyers were a
Plus
negative goal
7,
differential, and so it's like, were they still plus?
plus 7. They ended the season plus
Okay, but they
7,
were
but
lower
that's
than
because
okay,
of
they were
how
lower
well
than
they played to end the year.
right. Right. But yes, I mean, the general part of that is I think Pittsburgh looked at us as the tougher matchup. And I also agree with you. We might both be wrong, but if there's a pairing that would have more of a sweep potential, it would be the Penguins Flyers versus the Penguins Caps, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
And
I
I'm not
feel that.
saying it's going to be a sweep, but
Right.
I would predict 5 games. Like
Yeah. I
I
think
don't think the Flyers
Pitts
can hang with the Penguins in a fully 5-on-5, you have to win it that way environment. They're just not that type of team. I don't think they have really much toughness and edge to their game to really compete in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Um, yeah, so I'm not saying it's a sweep, but I wouldn't say it's going past 6. I'd love for it to go 7 because that's going to be a really fun series in terms of, the Battle of
yeah.
Pennsylvania. But I
Right,
just,
right.
yeah, the Caps would, in my opinion, obviously we're very biased, would have given a much better fight. Uh, just with our goaltending, we have a tough big lineup, great forechecking line slash
Right,
offensive
right,
line in the Protuses and Wilson. So yeah, no, we're a better team. We
right,
are a good hockey team
right,
that didn't do what they needed to do in the right moments.
right.
And I'm not defending them completely because what people will probably say is you didn't make the playoffs. Like you just didn't. It doesn't matter how good you were. They did. You didn't. And you're right. They did. We
Right.
didn't. You have to get
Right.
the wins. You
Right.
got to get the points. You got to take care of business. But I'm not panicking. And I'm actually very excited and optimistic for next year because of how we finished that season and how good we look. And yeah, so I think it's tough to see how it ends, but to me, I see Ovi coming back. I see us getting a lot of those young guys, obviously stepping up next year. Ilya in the lineup, Cole in the lineup, Leno and sort of taking bigger roles. I That's the new core around Shicky and obviously all those vets and PLD and Strom and them and Wilson and as the leader with Ovi. But yeah, I'm excited for what's to come, and we got a long time to wait for that. But overall,
Now,
this
the other thing
season
that,
bittersweet
right,
is the great word to say.
right.
Bittersweet.
So before we go on to the next segment, the one thing I will say is last night the Bears clinched the Calder Cup playoff,
Yes, yes, and yeah.
and Ilya, uh, Miro and Clay Stevenson all went back down to Hershey. And that I think is very promising because I think
Hmm.
we've talked a little bit about Miro, but I think Miro going back to for the playoffs is going to
Yeah.
be great for him. Ilya getting that extended playing time is going to be great for him. So I do think we're going to be able to track Calder Cup playoffs, which is I'm excited
And we're
about.
going to be able to. Andrew Cristal is really one we need to
Oh yeah,
keep keeping
exactly.
our
He's
eyes
lighting
on
it up.
because
Yep.
he's. I was
Yep.
saying, I think I said this to you either last episode or on a phone call because those get blurred for us.
Right.
But I think Cristal is on the same trajectory that Ilya was. He's just much smaller. Like
Mhm.
they both tore up the OHL/WHL, were top scorers in that league, and
Right.
then went to Hershey, and in their first year at Hershey have together have kind of torn it up. So
Yeah.
it's the same
Mhm.
really trajectory. It's just he's much smaller and hasn't gotten that chance. And in my opinion, Ivan Miroshnichenko has gotten the benefit of the doubt, which I think that's time to move on from. But like you said, we'll track Hershey. We'll talk about Hershey and kind of keep an eye on those guys because I agree. It's great to have the experience. And also, I saw this on Instagram. I don't know if it's been confirmed or not, but I think I saw that Ryan Leonard is going to represent Team USA at the World Championships. I
Oh,
that
no,
is
I didn't
I
know that.
literally just saw that today, so we'll see if that
Oh,
comes out as, a full reality, but
oh,
I
okay.
did see that on Instagram, so that's potentially for him a great opportunity to uh,
Mhm.
extend his playing time, get a little more looks,
Right.
get some more time
Right.
playing against some of the best in the world. So hopefully that is true and that wasn't just a random um, post. But all right, now we'll go on to the next segment, and it's overreaction or reality. So I have a couple prompts here. We'll see how long it takes. I have a bunch, but um, prompts here where I'll just make a statement and you tell me, and I'll give my opinion as well. Overreaction or reality. So the first one we'll start with is the Capitals should let Connor McMichael go this offseason. Overreaction or reality?
Well, well, we've talked about this quite a bit. So, I think that's an overreaction. I think he came on strong towards the second half of this year. If you look at his numbers, he's sixth or seventh in goals, points, and assists in that kind of range. And from a standpoint of if you look at John Carlson and Chikrin being in as defensemen that are kind of in that orbit, he's really probably, the fourth or fifth forward among the group. So you've got a top six forward there, hypothetically. I think the totality of his 2 year contract, which was at, I think about 2 million, 2 million a year. I don't know what specifically what it was, but I think it was, I think last year was a huge year. It was in the 60s as far as points. This year was in the mid 40s.
And he
Um,
played and just he played four less games. He scored
yeah,
11 less points in four less games this year.
yeah. So I mean, in total, and I think
Big change was he had 26 goals last year, he had 14 this year.
right, right, and again, I think and again, let's be frank. The Pittsburgh goal, the breakaway goal on Sunday, was if we go into the playoffs, one of the bigger goals of the year, right? So.
Hmm.
Um, I think that that's a thing. But what I was saying was, I don't think just because he had a down year that the front office will be looking at the down year. I think they'll be looking at the total of the 2 years, and looking at him as a 25-year-old. You have to understand he's really on the ascendant part of his curve, right? Now, again, that doesn't mean that he's not a extremely valuable asset if you're going for that one diamond in the rough that's going to tip the team in the right direction of making the playoffs and going for a long Stanley Cup run. So I don't disagree that he, you know, it'll be very interesting to see how quickly they're having discussions about his new contract. He's an RFA, and so my guess is he's a priority before Lapierre, who's also an RFA. And so my guess is they're going to be having discussions. And whereas I think if he had had two successive 60-point years, he might be looking at a 4 or 5 year contract. Um, I think they may look at it and go, okay, Connor, this is what we're willing to give you. It'll be a 2 year
I was
contract. He'll
gonna
be a
say I could
UFA.
see them boosting an if they feel like he is the guy, boosting another two and just giving him another
Right,
2 years to kind of prove it. Because I don't
right.
think you want to commit to him longer than that, in case this is a downward spiral.
Right. No, and that's what I'm saying is he may have lost a little bit of negotiating power from that perspective, right? But I think they want him. I think
Yeah.
if I look at, and we've talked about this before, it's you have to look at the top nine, top six, and you have to not necessarily look at just the lines. But he's been very successful on multiple lines from
Yeah.
1 to 3, and so playing up and playing down, I think, is a big flexible advantage for a player. And I think he gives you that. And
Yeah.
I think that, again, somewhat of a Swiss Army knife. He can play center, he can play wing.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I just,
let yeah, let me play devil's advocate
yeah,
here
sure.
because I
Yep.
tend to agree with you. I think honestly, most of it for me is that I think the front office is going to show a lot more loyalty to him rather than in the future to another winger slash center, just because they have invested a lot into him. He is only 25. He's still a young guy. This was year three in the NHL, and he produced nearly another 50-point season. Like I said, in four less games, he played 78 out of 82. So I think you are right in a lot of ways. I think that is an overreaction. But to play devil's advocate on the other side is you don't want you don't want last year to be an anomaly. And that's why you usually judge guys on contract years. Now, I will say for the Caps perspective, it is probably kind of nice that he took the slightest dip just because he does lose some negotiating power in that regard. And the thing is that did he, is he dropping down? He did this the year after, in his contract year. And if you're gonna look at his full statistics, the 26 goal year is the anomaly. Like that's the anomaly. It's like you can choose to go off of that, but you're going off
Right,
of
right,
the
right.
smaller sample size. Because he played 68 games in 21-22, obviously very young. 9 goals, 9 assists, -3. Then 23, 22, 23, he spent all his time as Hershey. 23, 24, 80 games played, 18 goals, 15 assists, 33 points, -20. The next year he has his big boom, 26 goals, 57 points plus 19. Well, then this year back to 14 goals, still 32 assists, 46 points. So if you want goal production from him and you're expecting 25 goals a year from him and want to pay him that way, in my opinion, as a front office, you shouldn't do that because out of, his career, he's only scored over 20 once. So why should you expect him to do that year after year? So that's my one devil's advocate as well. And if you're gonna go after ice time, he's averaged around 16 minutes the last 3 years. 16 minutes on the dot in 23, 24, around 17 the past 2 years, within 10 seconds of 17 the past 2 years. So that's my kind of playing devil's advocate for it not being an overreaction because are you gonna look at the full picture or are you just gonna look at the 1 year last year and see, hey, like that's kind of anomaly that sticks out. I will say 46 points from 57 isn't insane for less
Yeah.
games. Like I think it is probably a little bit of an overreaction to say that he isn't, good enough to keep going. But we'll get to the next one. This one I want to be much quicker, but I want to say
Mhm.
it. The Caps should give up and move on from Hendrix Lapierre. I'll go first. Reality. It's reality. And I understand he's young. I get it. But he shows these flashes at the end of the year, which is great. But he's a great AHL player. He's not, he doesn't seem like a top six high caliber center or even, a really good, consistent starting center in the NHL. I think he's been given chances. I think he's been given opportunities. And I don't think he's done enough to really earn himself anymore. Uh, because you look at his numbers, I mean, 74 games, 4 goals, 12 assists, 16 points. 2 years ago, 51 games, 8 goals, 14 assists, 22 points. And then last year, because I was just going by amount of games, 27 games, 8 assists, no goals, 8 points. Um, Obviously, he's never averaged over 11, 12 minutes of ice time. And last 2 years, he's averaged under 10. So obviously, that could be something working against him. But I think, we've had enough looks at him that I don't think you're going to skyrocket much at this point. And we could be wrong and he could get better and could go somewhere else and have a lot of success. But I think it's fully reality that it should be the final year because he's an RFA.
Right. Well, and so let's just frame it in the context of he's an RFA and he's not your priority RFA, right? And so I suspect we will be going after a fairly big player, and I don't know whether it's going to be a wing or a center, right? But that has a bearing on what you're doing with Lapierre. And my guess is I do think he needs to move on. I think he would have an opportunity potentially if he's going to play in the NHL, it's going to be on another team, probably that's not currently a playoff contender, where he can play third or fourth line center. But if we go after a center, then the writing's on the wall. They'll probably let him go. Um, uh, from that perspective. If we don't, then I still think there's a chance that we let him
I was
go.
gonna say, even if we
Um,
don't, you have sort of Protus, Strom,
yeah,
PLD. Like
yep, yep, yep.
you
No, I
don't
agree.
need him.
I agree. I agree. And honestly, we have other centers that even down in Hershey that probably should get a look at some point. Rybinski, at 6'3", I think 195 or something like that. Really good player in the AHL. Um, but yeah, so no, I mean, I agree. I just feel as if, we'll talk about Miro too, I'm sure. But I think
He's not on my list. I'm
okay, okay.
trying to
Well,
hold back on Miro
I'm
slander.
sure we'll talk about him later as we talk through the
Oh yeah,
summer.
as we talk summer later on, that is true. All right. Ilya Protus and Cole Hudson should both be Calder front runners going into next season. Overreaction or reality? If you have to think reality, I'm
Well,
personally going reality because
well, Hudson, yeah. I mean,
they played
so I
so they
think,
played so well. I mean, you even look at Protus for just coming in
right,
and playing what, four
yeah,
games? The production
yeah,
he had a 3 point game as well. Like he
yeah.
was, I'm pretty sure, let me check it, but he was a point
Three
per game player to
three games,
finish the
4 points.
year.
3 games, 4 points. I think it
Yeah.
was.
I think let me just double check it. Four games, 4 points plus one.
Okay, 4 games, 4.
So,
Okay,
so like he played really well. Obviously, tiny sample size. So people will probably say this is an overreaction. But then Cole, you have a solid sample size. I mean, he, in my opinion, and probably will be already a front runner for
yeah,
Calder next
yeah.
year.
He
But
is. Yeah,
I truly believe we have two players that are fully capable of winning that award. Ryan Leonard would have been much more highly considered for that award if he hadn't gotten hurt with the Truba hit because he
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
soaring when that happened and then
Right.
obviously put him out for a while. So um
And that's another thing
I
they
think they have two
that
I think they have two, true rookie of the
right.
year candidates that should be kind of right
Yeah.
at the
No,
top of that
and
list.
again, I think Hudson is a clear rookie of the year candidate. There's no doubt about it. And the only reason I say that is, look at who's gotten the Calder over the last several years. It's been quick moving defensemen,
Yeah,
right?
and
You know,
Schaefer should win it.
yeah,
Probably should
Hudson,
win it by a
Schaefer, right.
landslide. I don't know.
Right.
There's a lot of great
So
rookies this year, but I think it
right.
should be Matt Schaefer.
Right. But yeah, I mean, I think the upside for Ilya is extremely high. I just think the question is like how high is it? I mean, there's no doubt that depending on what line he's on, he's a producer. I mean, he puts up points. And it wasn't just that he put up 4 points. I mean, he was pressing play, really pushing play very well.
Well, he
And
has a pride in his two-way game. And he can be
mhm,
with his length, his size, his ability. He kind of checks all the boxes of
right.
what you want in a good two-way hockey player. And
Right.
that reach really gives him a defensive advantage as well. And just to give everyone the numbers, Cole in 14 games, 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points, -3, had some issues defensively, but like you said, offensive defensemen are winning that award pretty a lot right now. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I think they both, going into next year should probably be kind of top in that top level of kind of Calder Trophy finalists or betting odds, whatever way you want to look at
Right,
it.
right. Sure, sure.
Um,
Yep.
and I think, yeah, I think that I forgot what I was going to say, but it'll come back to me on that one. But yeah, I think both of them should be heavily considered
Yeah,
by
I would definitely
people.
say that's reality. I mean, that definitely is reality. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not an overreaction to think that they're going to really
Yeah.
have a solid
Oh,
year next year
yeah.
and contend
And
for
what I
that
was gonna
those
say is
honors.
the Athletic released a prospect list of top 100 prospects for each team, and
Right, right.
Cole and Ilya are still in there because they haven't played their official rookie season. So
Right, right.
Cole was 7, I believe, 7 or 8.
Hmm.
Ilya was 15. Andrew Cristal
Right,
was 39.
right, right.
So that's three in the top 40, two in the top 20. So I definitely think that is a reality. And I think we can do one more.
Okay.
Um, let's see from my list. The Caps are better off if Alex Ovechkin moves on this offseason.
I mean, I gotta say that's an overreaction. I mean, I think the fact that he led the team in scoring and points just says this guy is going to put up production. He's not going to get the 21 minutes a night that you expect or something like that, but he still produces. I still think he's part of a Stanley Cup run of some sort if we make the playoffs next year. I think with an appropriate winger or dynamic center, um, you could see him have another repeat year, another 30 goals. I mean, so I don't think he's ready physically. I think he's physically capable. He played 82 games. He
Yeah.
played a full
They
season.
compared it like I don't remember the numbers, but they showed like the amount of games LeBron's missed in the past 5 years. and the
Right.
amount of games Ovi's missed in his whole entire career. And I'm pretty sure Ovi's
Yeah.
number was less. So that just shows like his
Right.
ability to just weather the storm of the NHL. I mean, Russian machine never breaks became a thing because of who he is. He doesn't get injured much. He had a knee to knee against Carolina years ago that got him out, and then he had the broken leg and still scored 40. So he's unreal. He's your leading scorer. He's the heart and soul of the team. You're crazy if you think this team's better off without him. Now, I will say the role needs to adjust. The minutes go down, and the minutes did go down. I mean, I think he was 10th on the team in minutes. He was down low in that middle pocket
Yeah.
around
Mhm.
17 minutes, 16, 17 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
So
Right. Exactly.
he's putting up 30 goals in a lower amount of ice time. Like you have to
Yeah.
consider that. So he's
Right.
extremely valuable in so many different ways. And I think most Caps fans would agree with us there. And it's so unbelievably hard to produce points in the NHL, and he still does, and he still leads the way in that category. Pucks go in the back of the net when Alex Ovechkin's on the ice. Try and
Right.
deny it.
And
Now the
again,
the role
the
needs to change a little bit, but that's what I was saying
right.
is, no more 2 minutes on the power play. It's adjusting those things situationally. When do you use them? When do you not? When do you
Right.
allow the younger talent to step up? And when do you allow Ovi to kind of take the reins? And I think it's about a 15-minute a game role and maybe one power play, you know, unit, one of the two, not both.
Yeah. One or two.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. No, I agree totally. And I think just basically reading him, I think he's energized by the fact that there's a youth movement going on,
He
and
said
you've
he
got
said
people
he
like,
doesn't want it to be his last game. Like he doesn't want Columbus to
yeah,
be his last
yeah,
game. So I
and
think that shows
and
leaning.
yeah, and I think that, like we've talked about before, I mean, the Cole Hudsons, the Cale Makars need a Nathan McKinnon, right? Well, the Cole Hudson adds a certain element to an Alex Ovechkin. So I think he's capable of continuing to produce at his levels with these types of dynamic players on the team. That's why when
Well,
I talk about whoever they're going to go after, if it's an ad that you can potentially align with Ovi and I don't know how to say this the right way, that fills maybe some of Ovi's gaps, you know, um, but does it in a way that energizes that
yeah.
particular line, then that's huge. And
We
I think
do
that would
need
be
we
really
do need someone else to lead the team in scoring. Like that's a fact.
right,
63
right,
points should not be leading your team in scoring. I will say the good thing is the Caps are very balanced. So you look at
yeah,
everyone and you're like, okay, lots of 20 plus goal scorers. Like we
right,
we
right,
go deep, so we're very balanced, a
right,
very good team. But I still think you
right,
want a guy that's scoring 80. Like you want to get a
yeah,
Matthews type guy, and we'll talk about
right,
that in the summer. But you want to get someone who's
right,
just like you said, kind of filling the gaps. And by you don't really mean gaps, but like we need someone who's going to be that first line player and put up a lot, and someone we can be like, oh, we need him, get him out there, he'll get us a goal. Because obviously Ovi's
hmm
one of those guys too, but he is 40, going to be 41, so
hmm
you can't
right,
lean on him to do it again at 41. Like it's great that he led you at 40, but it's no guarantee. So you got to go and get someone that's gonna lead the way. So that brings us into talking more Ovechkin, which we want to do blind rankings of five Ovechkin moments, top Ovechkin moments. And so basically, what we're gonna do, and I'm explaining this for people who don't know, but also for my dad. And so basically, we're gonna get a moment, and we have to rank it 1 through 5. And then we'll get another one, and that one's locked in. We can't move our rankings. So it's just to see if we put a good ranking up together, and we have to agree.
okay,
So it'll give us some give or take if we do agree on this or not. All right.
okay, okay,
Um, Moment one, and I'm using ChatGPT, my associate producer, for this, so it's giving me it one by one, so I can't see these either.
right,
Um,
right.
all right, ninth season, scoring 50 goals to tie him with Bossy and Wayne Gretzky for most 50 goal seasons. one through five. I think this has to be lower. It's amazing. It's really one of his biggest moments as well because that just shows his consistency of how,
Does
no
it
one
say
puts.
which year that was?
No, but I think it was the last time he hit 50, which I think was about 4 years ago. Um, you give me your thoughts, I'll look it up.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I think it is notable. um, I probably would say maybe four.
Let
Um,
me see when it was. Last 50 goal season was 21-22. So it was 4 seasons ago or five.
okay.
I don't know how you count that.
Um, yeah, my guess is that we either lost to the Islanders that year in the playoffs.
Well, that
Can't
doesn't
remember.
matter. I'm talking about the
I know
moment, this one
the
specific
moment.
moment.
Yes, hit 50th goal in
I
for the
would say
ninth
four.
consecutive year. Ninth year.
Well,
Yeah, I would say
I
four.
don't know. Do you
That's
think you bottom that out? No, let's go for it. Let's go for it. I don't know
I
what
said four.
ChatGPT is gonna pull. So like, all right, so we agree on four. We'll give it four. Let's see what's next. All right. Oh yeah. The on his back goal against Phoenix. The goal.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to me, well, I mean, Stanley Cup, something related to Stanley Cups is going to be number one. So I would say number two. To
I
me,
was gonna give two. I
yeah,
was gonna give two.
it's the iconic goal that he'll be remembered for
Hmm.
forever. I mean, and to be able to pair that with the greatest goal scorer ever and the greatest goal ever scored, right? I mean, it's just so
It is true.
natural that I just think, yeah, it's definitely two.
Yeah, I agree. And then also some people forget this. Wayne Gretzky was the head coach of the Phoenix Coyotes at
Right,
the time.
right. Yeah,
He did it
exactly.
in front of Wayne Gretzky, and you just look back on it, it's like you didn't even know you were watching the guy who would break the record that we thought was unbreakable.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so when you think about that, I think that's just amazing as well. So I think I could argue three because there's one or two above that I'm like I may want to put there, but I'll
Right,
go with you on two. I'll go with you on two.
right.
It depends on what it chooses. I might change.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I
Okay,
know.
I got one. 2018 Stanley Cup championship gets the cup from Bettman.
Yeah, yeah, that's number one.
That's
That
one.
is,
I
I
mean,
mean,
you
it's,
don't even need to talk about it, really. It's just
yeah.
we all know how much that meant to him, how much it meant to
Mhm.
Washington. Um, just yeah,
I've never seen a hockey player as excited to win the cup. I've never seen it. I mean, again, I'm sure there's other examples of very
it's
exciting
called the
Stanley
summer
Cup
of Ovi
winners.
for a reason.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. No, it's number one. There's
Yeah.
no doubt.
No, there's no talking about it, no arguing it. Um, all right, next up. So we got that at one. We put that at one. Um, Scoring 65 in 2007, 2008, his third year in the league.
Before we get to this one, I want to qualify because there's several Stanley Cup moments that were
Yeah, but
iconic.
that's all encompassing. This is like
I
Ovi,
know,
this is Ovi moments
I
throughout his
I
career,
know,
but
but just
Cup as a
yeah,
whole.
but just like you said, summer of Ovi, right? I mean, when he goes up in front of the audience and says, "We're not going to suck this year," right?
Yeah.
Or when you see him in the fountain doing
Yeah.
the swim
No,
or
that's
whatever.
it's the whole experience.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
number
exactly.
one. That's the greatest
Exactly.
moment of Ovi's career was winning that
Yeah.
cup, and it's the obvious number
So,
one. So it's not a hot take, but like there's nothing else you're gonna put there.
yeah, so 65, I would say I'm going to reserve three for something better because I think 65 may be
Okay.
fifth.
I wanted
Um,
three. So I
okay.
wanted three just because. So when you think about, I saw a post the other day that kind of said like all the goalies that have played in the past 20
Hmm.
years that are
Yeah.
gone now.
Yeah.
And if you remember early on in Ovi's career, we were in a scoring lull. Like it was a defensive game, very much. Like there were years where 100 points
yeah.
was a ceiling
Hmm.
of the guys. So
Hmm.
Ovi coming in and putting up 50 consistently and then doing something at the time that was just ridiculous. Obviously, we saw Matthews get 69, which was insane now, but now goaltending is the worst it's ever been. The average goals
Hmm.
against average has dropped below 900, I believe, since first time since
Yeah, I saw that.
1994,
I saw that. Yeah,
something like
I saw
that.
that. Yeah, I saw
94,
that stat.
97 range, something like that.
Right,
But so
right,
if you're seeing that, so Martin Brodeur, um, Carey Price, Tim Thomas, Jonathan Quick. I'm missing so many others. Henrik
right.
Lundqvist.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
there is a laundry list of fantastic goaltenders that played in this era where defense was dominant and goalies were fantastic. And he put up consistent 50 goal seasons, but he put up a 65 goal season. Like, just that's unbelievable of what he was
Yeah,
able to
yeah.
achieve. And it was one of the best seasons anyone's ever had. And to do it, my argument for three is he did it against the best goalies and the best defenders in the league. Look at the
Yeah,
guys who
yeah.
were the goalies and the defenses and the goal scoring in that year in those times, and it's unbelievable that he was able to do that. So that's
Okay.
my only argument for three, but I see what you're saying at five.
I mean, I can agree with your consensus, and then we can see what number five is.
No, that's the thing is, did we F up? We'll see. So you're giving me
Yeah,
three?
I'm giving you three.
All right, we're putting that in at three. All right, it's in. And next up, well, actually, it did split the celebration summer into its own thing. So celebration summer's going fifth. so so maybe we should have done it the other way. But hindsight is 2020. Because yeah, no, that's better than 65. It just is. I love, like I said, that's my reasoning for how impressive the 65 goal season was. But no, seeing the summer celebration because you already mentioned it. It was the greatest. It's the greatest celebration in Stanley Cup history, in my opinion. Like
Well, I mean,
obviously we're
again,
so biased. We're unbelievably
we
biased.
we are we are
But like it
unbelievably
was
biased,
so amazing.
but 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 from the very beginning, first you have the celebration winning the game, then you have the Backstrom Ovi at the Bellagio.
Carrying it
Oh
together.
my
Oh, at the Vegas Strip, everything. It was
Oh my
everything.
gosh. So yeah, I mean, that's before you even get back to DC. Then you got the parade. You've got him, we not suck this year. I mean, it was iconic. It was just iconic. And yeah, I mean, again, for me, it's like winning the Stanley, having your home team winning the Stanley Cup, and then having, as we've talked before, my alma mater, Purdue, winning a national championship. Those are the two pinnacles for me. One's been achieved.
I'm hoping for the other one. Um, but yeah, no, that's a fun list. So I'll pop that up. I'll pop that up here on the screen for you. Um, if I feel like making that graphic. But yeah, so now we'll get into the summer, and we'll just do a quick hit from each of
Yeah,
us
because we'll
about
talk in the future.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll talk in the future, and also we're getting a little long, not crazy long, but don't want us to go crazy. I know we could really get into the weeds on this one, but
Mhm.
I would say just kind of what you think the strategy is going to be, and maybe something you think um, is going to happen. And I'll let you think for a second because, and I'll just give my quick one. I
Okay.
think it's a trade. I don't think it's a big splash signing. I think it's a trade, and of kind of the trade potential trades I've seen is obviously Austin Matthews is one that just floats around everywhere. Vincent, and then a lot of the guys that we talked about at the deadline are still kind of being thought of as being shopped. So Vincent Trocheck, Robert Thomas, Matthew Nyes, Simon Nemec is a righty defenseman from the Devils, young guy who's played well.
Mhm.
He was listed as a potential trade target just in the NHL, not for us, but we are kind of desperate at the right defenseman spot. So maybe that's a way they go. But I think it's a trade. We've been collecting assets. We have a lot of assets. We have good prospects. So I think that's probably where we go. And I think it ends up being a trade for a center like Trocheck or Matthews. Like we talked about it, if you do a center, where does that fit? But also, Sordif is diverse. He can be a wing or a center. So you have some leeway to play with that. So I think it's a guy like I think they go out, make a move, and it's a guy like and Ovi comes back. I think it's a guy like Matthews, Trocheck, or Thomas coming in to be, a featured forward for us. That's kind of what I see.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I think there's a couple things that really play out um, in June. And I think, one of them will be, whether Ovi's coming back. I get a sense that we probably will need to know, the front office probably needs to know by the draft, which I think is June 24th or 25th,
Something like late
um,
June.
what he's doing. Because quite frankly, I think you're right. There will be a trade and it'll be around draft day, my guess is, because we have the draft assets. We have two first round picks this year. And so I would not be surprised that we are working through a trade around that timing. And again, given that most likely Ovi has made a decision one way or the other, that's a massive trade, or maybe a little bit less massive, depending on what he's doing. But I would think it would happen in that time frame. We're not really looking for UFAs. We're looking for a really outright trade with someone who is 25 to 28, and has term, right? Has maybe another 3, 4 years on his contract. So that's my guess. I'm not a manager, but that's kind of my guess of what's going to go on. But I think it's going to make it very interesting. And what I'm excited about is, like, once the draft is done, head out to rookie camp, and in July, and then you start that process of looking at what does the team look like in September and October. So it's going to happen fast and furious. I think in some ways this is going to probably be one of the most exciting off seasons for Caps fans to really get excited for next year, because we just have a lot of youth and enthusiasm. And if Ovi
Hmm.
comes back, I think people will just be really, really excited. I look forward to talking about some of the summer movements and stuff like that.
Yeah, and we will also kind of as the draft comes on, we'll do a prospect episode, something like that. Maybe next week we'll reserve a little bit of a section just to talk about the first round of the playoffs. Just because that'll be fun. There's a lot of good hockey and doing a little bit of that. But like you said, we'll go into the draft. We'll do some prospect stuff. We'll talk way more about summer, who we think might be gone. And it'll be interesting to track throughout. So we will wrap it up here today, but we appreciate everyone watching, following on Instagram, TikTok, anywhere you can find us, or listening along here. So we really appreciate your time and thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Perfect. Thank you. Really appreciate everybody supporting us.